Okay, we're changing the alternator out today. Getting way too many volts. It's at 14.5, 14.7 right now to idle. Let me rev it up a little bit. 16.8. 16.8 volts is what it's getting. The voltage regulator on the alternator is bad. I'm going to change that out. Okay, to remove your alternator, which is way down here on the driver's side of your motor, you probably can't see it in this much light. Nope. Anyways, it's down in there. You gotta start by taking the tire off, taking the axle out, and we'll show you how to do all that. Okay, when removing the axle, you need to take the axle nut off, obviously. Now, if you have regular steel rims, they're gonna have the big open spot right there for you. If you have aftermarket rims, just take your rim off, flip it over, flip it around, and then take something and just kind of pop it out like that, so that way your cap comes off. Let's put the wheel back on so we can take that big giant nut off of there. Now that you got your wheel back on, you don't need to put all the bolts in there, just enough to hold the wheel on, tighten it down, get it back on the ground so the car has pressure on the tires, so when you go to take it off, I'm using this big, I think it's a 28-inch or 2.5-foot breaker bar with a 32mm socket on the end. Just take this off. Okay, so put some weight back on the car. Grab your big breaker bar, 32mm socket, and really give it a real good one. It's quite hard. There it goes. Oh. There it goes. Okay, now you've got your nut off, raise the car back up and take the wheel off. Okay, after you got your axle bolt out, you're going to want to come down here, take this pin out right here that's holding on the bolt for the lower control arm. Okay, then you're going to take this bolt off with a 19mm. Alright, now that we got our bolt off, you need to really see my axles bad. Now that you got your bolt off here, you want to just kind of take a hammer and smack the lower control arm right here. Do not hit your ball joint, because if you hit the ball joint, you're going to break it and you're going to mess it up. So just smack it right here, and you'll feel it pop, and you should be able to pull this whole brake assembly up and off the lower control arm. Okay, it finally popped free, looks like. So, lift it up and out. Okay, once you got the whole breaker caliper assembly off the lower control arm, as I have here, just go ahead and pick it up. Let's see if I can do this. You're just going to want to kind of push your axle in. Smack with a hammer a little bit, and then you can pull this whole thing up over to the side over here, kind of like this. Get it out of your way. All the parts fell out of mine. Axle's fucked. So let's just get this piece of shit out of here. See if I can just pull it out. Yep. Yank this fucker all the way out. Look at that. Completely bad axle. Again. So what we're going to do now is take this lower fork off right here. Get it off the shock tower. So that way I can put a new axle in it. And I'm going to be getting into the alternator way up in here in a little bit. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is take the fork off that holds on the shock tower You gotta take that off. It's going to be blocking where your axle comes in and out at. So let's get that off. These are 17mm on each side. You can see that. Ryobi 18-volt impact. Yeah. There you go. Got the bottom half off. Wow. Okay, now you got your bottom bolts out. There's a bolt right up in here that you got to get out. It's right there. So let's take that out. Okay, now that you got your fork loose, just kind of work it down. Work it out of there. Like that. Set this down. Okay, now that you got your fork off, got everything out, let's go ahead and get the rest of that half of that axle out of there. I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver. Come around, just take a flathead, stick it in here and kind of pry it off a little bit. Make sure it doesn't fall on your face. There we go, camera. There it goes. And then you can just grab it and slide the whole shaft, what's left of the shaft, out. Like that. Now, something I didn't explain on my last video. Now your old axle and your new axles are held in by this one little pin right here. This is what clips. This is what, you gotta make sure it's seated. You'll actually feel it clip in, and when you're taking it out, you'll feel it pop out. This little clip right here is important. Okay, now that you've got your axle out and you're ready to get to your alternator, made all the room for getting to your alternator, it's right up in here. This is the bottom bolt that holds the alternator on, and there's a top bolt. The top bolt is the one that you can loosen up and get the belt loose and take the belt off first. So you're going to get the top bolt first. And of course, make sure your battery is completely disconnected so you don't electrocute yourself or blow anything up. And that top bolt is right there. Looks like it's 12mm, so get that top one out, and you can see how it's a slot in there, so you can just kind of slide the alternator around, get it loose, and you'll be able to get that belt off. So let's get this top bolt off first. Okay, now that you got your bolt off the top, you should be able to get enough slack to just pull that belt right on off. Okay, now that the belt's all loose, it should just slide up and over the top of this with a little bit of coaxing. I'm going to set the camera down and just take the belt off. Okay, after you get your belt off, now come over here. There's a few accessories in the way. It's just like I have that bolt taken out right there. Just get all the stuff out of the way. Just unbolt it, move it out of the way a little bit, because you're going to get down in there to get that bolt off. That's the main power for the top of the alternator. Get that off, and we'll be able to pull the alternator out through the bottom. Okay, now that you got all your bolts out and everything, just pick up your alternator, kind of set it off to the side, because you're going to want to remove this. This has 3 screws on it, 3 bolts on it holding it in. One over there, one over here, and one up top. Just get all these bolts out. That bracket will move out of your way. Get that bracket out of the way, and the alternator will slide down through that spot, no problem. Okay, so now that you're ready to put the alternator back in place, just kind of want to set it back in here, back on top of your axle shaft or whatever. You kind of see how I have the alternator just stuck in there. It's just sitting on top of that axle shaft. So just get it in there and get your bracket back on and bolt it all back together. Alright, now that you got your top and bottom bolts in, you'll be able to put your belt back on it, and then come over here and put your power back on that one spot down right there, and we're all done. for the alternator, you still got to put an axle back in your car. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, now that you're ready to put your new axle in, it's my old busted axle in 2 pieces. There's the new one. Just take the new cup off the front, or the new bolt off the front off, obviously. Set that to the side. They always come with the new one because you gotta smack it and put a ding in there so that way it doesn't want to unlock on you. So they always come with new one of those. Just get it in here, set it in there, and you really want to just kind of jam it into place. I was talking to you earlier about this clip here. This is the clip that will lock into place. You'll hear it clink and click into place. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. There you go. So just put it in here, line it up. There it goes. And it's in there. See, it doesn't want to come back out. You can grab it and feel it that it's locked in there. It's not going to come back out. So now you're going to want to rearrange this a bit. Shit. Fucking hate grease. It's so greasy when axles blow up. Let me put some gloves on. Okay, now that you got your axle seated in there properly, let's go ahead and put this fork back around the axle and kind of get it in place. I'm going to pick this up and then slide it all around like that. And now just put this back into here like this. Finesse it a little bit until she wants to go in. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass. Okay, now that you got the other part of the axle in, we're going to put the hub on. You got to get it in there and get it adjusted. It's kind of a pain in the butt a little bit sometimes. My last axle went in nice and easy. This one's giving me a little bit of trouble. So just keep playing with it. Shit, that hurt. Sharp. There it goes. Okay, now that you got it seated, you put your nut on. Just finger tight it for now. Make it finger tight because we still need to pick this whole assembly up and put it on the lower control arm. Let's get a better angle. Now put your bottom nut back on it. Oh, it's not sitting in there yet. There it goes. Now put your bottom nut back on it. Tighten that up. Put the pin back in it. I recommend getting a new pin. When you use these old pins and they're worn out, it's kind of dangerous sometimes, so recommend always putting a new pin in there. Okay, to finish everything up, you're going to want to tighten this one down. It's a 17 millimeter? No, 19 millimeter. Put your fork assembly back together. Just kind of get it back into place. Okay, if your fork isn't lining up right here properly, just get in there, kind of line it, and then get something like a screwdriver. And once you get it in there, you can see I can pry it up real good. I'll get it aligned right. There we go. And then from the other side, you can just kind of keep working the bolt in. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now once you got it started, just kind of get your hammer and tap it into place. Just kind of want to hang up on this side, so be real gentle, don't mess up your threads. Jiggle it back and forth till it. So yeah, just keep tapping it in until it goes. Be gentle so you don't mess up your threads. And that one's that. It's a 17 millimeter on both sides. If you want an extra crank like that, you know it's real tight. Now you got to put your top bolt back on up here. It's the top bolt that comes right up in here to hold your shock on. It's a 14 millimeter. Okay, so all of the internal parts in here are all tightened up, buttoned up. The only thing you got to do left is tighten this down real good with your big, huge 32 millimeter socket. Man, this thing's pretty big. They're not expensive. I got this at like AutoZone or a local parts store for, I would say, about $15 to $25. I want to say I paid $15 for it, so they're not very expensive. Okay, now that you got your wheel back on the ground, you want to tighten up your axle nut and smack in the safety point right here with the flathead screwdriver, and it's all done. See how that safety point's in there? That's what's going to keep it from coming off on its own. Put your cap back on it and we're all done.